I said to them, I said, yo, I'll do a dialect for this movie. Apparently Steven Spielberg said, no, I want him to speak exactly how he speaks. That was kind of like another one of those moments in my life of like, you're doing what you need to be doing.
Actor, recording artist,
Grammy award-winning triple threat.
Please welcome Anthony Ramos.
Hey, y'all. Good morning.
Anthony Ramos is a household name. He became so when he was an original cast member of the hit musical Hamilton. He went to star in The Heights, Transformers, Rise of the Beasts, the upcoming Twisters, and the upcoming Ironheart TV series. He has this warmth about him that when you're around him, you just feel like you're home. Hey, hold on. Before we get to the good stuff, would you just take a moment, like this video, and subscribe to the channel? It really helps us out. And then also, you won't miss any of the exciting weekly conversations I'll be posting. Thank you. Welcome to Unmuted, where we explore how our voice and accents are so much more than just words. I'm dialect coach Audrey LeCrone. Anthony Ramos, thank you for being here.
Thank
and
you.
cheers.
Thanks for having me. Green is my favorite color.
Oh, good. I knew that. I didn't.
What'd you say you did?
So, because this is a voice show, is there any sort of voice warm-up or little trick that you do if you have a little bit of time and you need to do a warm-up?
It's that lip trill thing. I mean,
Oh, shit,
I do it all
let's do
the
it.
time.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
I just go from the bottom to the top.
Okay, you're all going to do it with us. Ready?
Oh, everything's wow.
That's actually my favorite, too. I always make sure that I can resonate to my belly.
You used to have me do the thing with the tongue. What was it like?
Wait, no, do it so that your cheeks are relaxed, so it's just the tongue shooting out.
Yo, I used to feel mad weird when I see myself on the thing. I'd be like,
and I'd be like, "Great, good job!" Like a little mother, like, "Oh, good job, son."
Yeah, so we can move on now.
Yeah. All right. So we're all prepared now to speak. All right. So we have a little icebreaker question, and that is, it's very important.
Yes.
What is the sexiest accent to you?
Whoa. I don't know. I think people from like Hispanic countries like that don't speak English well. Like that kind of dialect. I mean, it's from everywhere. From,
Why?
Canary Islands or like PR, like DR, Colombia. Why? I don't know.
I always like to ask why, because there's usually a specific reason that a certain sound is attractive to you.
I mean, I'm from New York, so obviously not everyone speaks that way, but I don't know, anything that reminds me of like PR, Puerto Rico or somewhere, like that. I don't know, it just kind of...
Is that nostalgia?
Maybe, yeah, and it makes me
familiarity.
Like I get, and I don't know if it's so much where I'm like, oh, that sounds sexy. It just sounds like home a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Home is sexy. Familiarity is sexy.
Yeah.
I think everyone can resonate with that, basically. You can find other sounds attractive, but the sounds you grew up with, it's like if I hear an Oklahoma cowboy, I'm like...
I love that. Yeah, that's hilarious. What do you like again? I get excited when I hear someone else with a New York dialect. Whether it be New York from South Brooklyn or New York from East New York.
Yeah.
It's Long Island. I still get excited. This is familiarity that, again, reminds me of home, and I get excited. I'm like, yo, where you from? I'm from New York. You from New York too? And then, you kind of just like automatically there's this connection because y'all have the same or similar dialect.
Yeah. What has your relationship been like to your own accent? Like, have you always had it? Have you lost it at some point?
Nah, I've always had it. I think I was in school. When I was in college, I was trying to kind of get rid of it. Because I felt like it wasn't gonna help me get work, and it wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Like,
And look at you now, those fools.
Look at
Ha!
those fools, those people who told me to stop talking the way I speak. But it was really like, you know, I ain't really see people on TV in the movies or the things that I was watching. But I had a couple teachers actually tell me the opposite. So I've had one or two be like, maybe you should change your dialect to more American standards so you can sound just neutral. You know, and then I've had other teachers say to me, or mentors be like, you don't have to change the way you speak at all.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I remember Lin-Manuel said to me, he was like, we were actually in rehearsal for Hamilton. And we were just sitting in the theater and he's like, yo, I like cracked a joke, and it was kind of like, I said, I was feeling a little self-conscious about how I said it. And I said, yo, I feel like sometimes when I talk, I'm a little hood. I feel like I need to change the way I speak. He was like, you don't need to change the way you speak. You just need to make sure people understand you. And I think that was like a really pivotal moment in my life and career, you know, because he said that to me probably now 9 years ago or something like that. So, you know, that was a really significant moment.
So how did that change you? Or how did you take that in?
It was just like a reassurance that I already felt that, but it was almost like that kind of stamp, like, yo, just keep doing you. I mean, even so, for example, I was shooting Twisters. Twisters is coming out in July. And, I do my audition, I get the part. And
Wait, you had to audition?
I had to audition.
Wait,
I hadn't auditioned in a while,
did you
too.
audition?
Yeah, I know.
Wow, okay.
My team was like, yo, we don't think you should audition for this. But I really wanted the part. I really wanted to work with Lee Isaac Chung, who's the director. And I was like, nah, it's cool, it's all right. And I just did a chemistry test on Zoom with Daisy Edgar Jones. And it was awesome. And they gave me the role, and I said to them, I said, yo, I'll do a dialect for this movie. Apparently Steven Spielberg said, no, I want him to speak exactly how he speaks.
I love that. Yeah, because I remember you had told me on Ironheart, you were like, oh, I think I want to use you for my next movie. And then I never heard from you, and I was like, all right, maybe we're being New York. Okay, this is fun.
Nah, so it was going to be for Twisters, but then Steven was like, yo, nah, I want him to speak exactly how he speaks. That was kind of like a moment of like another one of those moments in my life of like, yo, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. Like, you know, you're doing what you need to be doing, kind of thing.
How's your relationship to your voice and your singing?
I do my warm-ups before my shows, and you know, and it really helps me. I think when I'm singing too more often, because sometimes I have these seasons where I'm not recording, but in the times where I am, I can feel the difference in my voice even when I speak, because my voice it's almost like it's been getting exercise.
When you're recording?
When I'm recording, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like I've been singing, and it's almost like my voice feels more open. I'm more aware of where my placement is, like when I'm speaking. And sometimes there'd be some certain days where my placement is a little lower or a little further back or something like that, where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm tired today, or oh, I got it. Like sometimes I won't even have to warm up to know where my voice is gonna be by the time I get to the studio to record. Wow. Just from when I wake up and from the first moment I talk to someone or speak, I'm like, okay, yeah. Today's a good day, or I'll know. I'm like, oh, nah, this song's gonna be half a step lower than it probably would be otherwise. That's like such an intimate relationship then you have with your voice. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I started learning about my voice in college. That was the first time I had a voice lesson. Christy Kelly was my voice teacher in school. Shout out Christy. Shout out to Christy. Learned a lot from her. You know, I used to, you know, she was the first person to also, well, she taught me, she was the first person to teach me anything about my voice. Yeah. And then, you know, we had voice production and speech. We had great teachers in school. But Christy really helped me. She used to do like Reiki on me, like on my throat. You know, we used to start the lessons, and this was like a thing that she did later on. We didn't start that way, but as we got more comfortable with each other, she's like, "Look, man, I don't do this with every student, but because we're like friends and shit, here, I'm gonna do this. Yo, I'm like, I feel my voice open up a little bit.
Wow.
And then, she also used to tell me like, yo, if you're late, don't rush because you're already late. And I don't want you to come to the class and now you're breathing hard or you're tense or whatever. Now that's gonna affect the time that it takes for your voice to open up.
Wow.
I'd rather you just be whatever late, however time you get here, whatever time you're gonna get here, but relaxed. So that way we can just, your voice can still be in the best place it can possibly be in to perform, And she's like, I used to think, I can only sing a G or I can only sing an A minor. And she's like, nah, you got a B, you got a C. And
You just gotta relax.
you just gotta relax,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is amazing. It really is. Relaxation helps you be able to reach whatever note. It's incredible. I used to have an opera teacher who, when we became comfortable with each other, he would grab my throat and like coax my larynx down.
That's wild.
It was really helpful. To be honest, because I'd be like singing all this opera and then we'd be like,
wild. The opera teacher was grabbing.
I that sounds aggressive, but it was not. Okay. So like if you look at my esophagus here, like it moves. You can do this, right? So he's grabbing on both sides, not like squeezing it, but grabbing on both sides and just coaxing the muscles down so that I'm not.
Let me choke you out before you start saying that's crazy. Y'all gotta have to delete that. That's OD. That's wild. No, but yo, I used to do these massages too. Like this.
It's
Move
helpful.
it around. Also underneath the tongue.
Underneath the tongue. All that gets tense.
And your jaw.
Yeah.
Here to
I love
release.
My jaw releases like if I push back here on the back of my neck, that releases my jaw.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
It's
you come
amazing
down
how much
here.
tension we all hold in different places. With your New York accent, a lot of people who are actors or novice actors are like, oh, can you do a New York accent? And how do you feel about that when they do like some sort of bad Italian New York accent and they say that that's Brooklyn?
I'm like, you gave it your best shot. That's how I feel
You're
about
such a
it.
sweetheart.
Yeah, like, I don't feel no type of way because, like, you know what I'm saying?
I was just
like,
worried. I was just wondering because, like, some people, when that's your accent and it's sometimes misrepresented or misconstrued in the media, they have certain feelings about it.
Yeah,
But
I don't feel no type of way. I'm like, look, if you got cast, you got cast. That's what's up. Like, shout out to you. And your accent was not that great. I'm like, you still got cast? All right. Shout out to you. You killed that. I mean, because doing dialects and accents, it's a tough skill, I mean,
hard.
like working with you and doing that work. Like I respect people who go for it,
Yeah.
So I don't really be hating on nobody who has who's kind of, maybe they might be off or whatever. Cause I'm sure English people feel that way, British people feel that way about us. We be doing these British accents. I do respect any actor that decides to take on a role that requires them to do a dialect or an accent, because that's extra work. Like you have to speak in a way that's not natural to you, and then you have to do it so much that you can still react naturally without thinking about how you had to change the way you speak, right? You don't think about your dialect. I don't think about it, so therefore I'm reacting to you in a natural way.
yeah.
But like when you acting, you got to remember your lines. Then when you're doing a dialect or an accent, you got to remember that, right? So, and in between takes, you will come and be like, yo, your O is all for you, this is all for that. So that's like another thing for you to think about on top of your blocking.
A lot of pressure.
On top of, you know what I'm saying? On top of reacting, honestly, so it's, it's a lot to think about, so.
I don't think people realize how hard it is until they try it. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
even
hard.
even a dialect that might be close to how you speak. Ironheart was my first. That was my first dialect I've ever done, and
Okay, how was the experience for you? I'm curious.
it was dope. It was wild because again, it was my first, but it was close enough. Still like Midwest, it's Chicago, but it's but the way this guy spoke and the way people spoke in Humboldt Park or speak rather, is closer to how people speak from where I'm from. So it was kind of nice that there was some parallels in the dialect.
There were a lot of parallels.
A lot of parallels.
And what we did is we chose a voice model. So specifically someone's what they call an idiolect. So you got a dialect, but an idiolect is the specific way someone speaks. So like how you speak differently from your brother, right? You grew up in the same area, you have the same influences maybe, but you guys both sound different a little bit.
Yeah.
And so if I were to study your dialect versus Mario's, it would be different. So if you can base your character on a real person or as Dom Fishback and I were talking about, a spectrum, which we kind of did, I think, where you have one person on one side and then another person that's same technical dialect, but or same neighborhood maybe, but a different energy and a different feel. Where on a good day, your character is on this side, and on a bad day, your character's on that side. So most days, your character's kind of in the middle.
Right. We had that. We did that. We did this. We had, I think, we had 5 options, and then we picked between 2. It was Serge, and then there was another gentleman, another guy that you.
Oh yeah, I remember.
You know that he had an even
that
deeper
guy on YouTube,
Midwest. Yeah, he had an even deeper Midwest. He was from like an interview or something like that.
The one that was doing the neighborhood tour.
Probably, yeah.
He was doing like, this is my hood, this is like blah, blah, blah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that's the most helpful is to find actual models so you can breathe life into your character.
Right.
And have it come from a real source rather than just something made up. Of like, hey, yo, this is Brooklyn. Like when people do this Brooklyn thing and they're like, that's what are you doing?
No, yeah.
What are you doing?
But it helps to have a real reference.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it helps to have a real reference.
I love that advice.
Yeah. You helped me with the dialect, but you also helped me with like the acting too. You know, like you give me good notes. That didn't only help with just the dialect, you know, and even sometimes you'd be like, nah, that didn't feel real. You know, and that even helped. I was like, oh, shit. Like,
well, you were receptive to that. I don't give notes like that to everybody.
Yeah.
There's people who I know would be receptive and who I know care and who I know have incredible potential. And that's when I'm like, oh, the one time that I told you had lost your swag.
You lost your swag, yo.
That was like the harshest note I think I could have ever given you. And you were like, what? And I was like... You're like, how was it? And Sergio, who I had hired as my assistant, he was like, yeah, man, that was great, bro. And I was like, Sergio, I just touched his arm. I was like, Anthony, you lost your swag. I could just feel your whole demeanor be like, oh, really? And I was like, oh, that might have been too harsh. That was too honest. And I was like, fuck, that was too honest. Dang it.
Nah, it was great. It was great, though.
I mean, after that, you got it back.
Thanks.
Stella got her groove back. Anthony got his swag back. Like, it's all good.
But those notes were mad helpful.
Good.
Super helpful.
Good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, what's the next show that we're gonna do together?
I'm making Bob the Builder. I'm producing Bob the Builder.
Oh yeah, I saw that article. That's exciting. You're producing it. That's so cool.
I'm producing and playing Bob, so I'm excited about that.
You're playing Bob.
Playing Bob.
Oh my God.
Playing little Bob.
That's so exciting.
Little Bob.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
And for your music, you're doing new music, right?
Yeah, I'm working on my album right now, really. That's like my main focus. And I'm writing a musical, which I'm really excited about. We got like 10 songs.
Tell me anything about either of those? It's okay if you can't, but...
I'll definitely tell you about the album.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the album this is my 3rd album, and I'm just really excited because I just feel like I'm making music that I love. And...
Why?
I love my team. Because it feels...
Like, what's the difference?
Because it feels really, really honest. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm moving in a direction that someone else might want me to be moving in, or, you know, it really feels heart-led, you know, spirit-led. And, you know, I haven't felt that in years making music, you know, so... Even though I've been writing songs, you know, for the last couple of years, I think that finally, I got back to a place where I'm at a place where, I've just accepted the kind of music I want to make, and I'm okay if, like, I'm cool, like if not everyone is vibing with it, you know what I'm saying? Like if it's not.
Oh, what a beautiful place to be at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it feels fire. Like I'm just like
Wow.
I'm having fun in the studio again.
Good.
Loving making music again.
Are some of the singles that you released this past year on it?
Nah, this is a whole different
What?
vibe.
All new?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
all new stuff.
I
Yeah.
can't wait.
Those are just singles from last year.
Are they things I
Those
can
live.
share with my daughter or no?
They're
She's a big
things,
fan.
No, you can share these songs with your daughter.
It's more appropriate than Étalé.
It's yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Right.
So funny.
Hopefully, I think your daughter would. Then I got one song that my manager, his like 7-year-old kid, sings all the time. This song called "When You Dance."
Called what?
When You Dance.
Oh, so cute. That's really exciting.
So yeah.
So, a few other things about accents. In real life, do you ever find that you switch your accent at all? Like, do you change the way you speak when you're around different kinds of people?
Probably. I worked on a cruise ship for 7.5 months. So
Doing
I
what?
was a singer on the cruise ship. On the ship.
Did you have amazing costumes?
The costumes were nice. They were cool.
awesome.
I did a Saturday Night Fever, the musical. Yeah. I played Double J.
Sweet.
So I had to do a little dialect. Hey, Tony! But that, it's a different dialect from mine.
Yeah.
The...
So that wasn't the first time you've done a
the
dialect.
Bay Ridge. I guess you're right. That it is.
Yeah, give
not
yourself
the
some more
first time.
credit here.
Right. But it wasn't far. Like, I've heard those guys all my life. Like,
Still a different
in
dialect.
Bay Ridge and stuff. So, like,
What's the difference?
if you grew up in certain parts of Brooklyn, especially even just Brooklyn alone, your dialect will be different. Like Bushwick will be different from Benson, somewhere like Bay Ridge. And so I had to do the Bay Ridge Brooklyn dialect. Watch Saturday Night Fever or Grease or any of those movies. So it was like that.
And even I'm sure in Bushwick the accents are very varied as well.
For sure.
Like
depends. Even depends on somebody's age. It depends, right? Like
exactly.
And I think when I was on that cruise ship, I had friends from all around the world. So I meet people from England. My best friend was from Wales. My boy Tom, he was like my closest friend. Him and Sam, and Sam is from Essex in the UK. So I started that. I started to adapt these inflections. Like when I came back home, my family was making fun of me because it's like, yo, you sound like you have a little bit of like an accent, like a dialect now. Like I had this like inflection, like where I'd be like, yo, we're going to the party or what? Because Tom used to say that to me all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I and it was because I started to speak that way because that was how they spoke, and I wanted them to understand me. So I think that it's the same thing as you go to another country. Eventually, you like, yo, if everybody's speaking Spanish, I gotta learn Spanish.
Right.
So even in other countries, people speak English, but they speak a different kind of English. So you go to Canada, it's not the restroom, it's the washroom.
Right.
I think that naturally, when you're in a place for a while, you start to adapt to that place, and you start to naturally, pick up inflections and things like that. Just because you're around it so much.
Right.
At least that happens
and you're
to me.
respecting it and enjoying it and loving on those people who are there.
Yeah. I have one friend who I make fun of him all the time because he changes his voice. He's like this dude from the Bronx that's mad like hood. But he gets this like, like he gets this kind of voice when he gets into these business meetings. Or like he's talking to executives like, I think, the motive of the character. And like, I make fun of him all the time about that shit. But like, it's funny how you switch your dialect or you switch to adapt to whatever the room is or whatever the place is and stuff like that. But it's only natural. I think it's a part of like survival too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And I think that's something that I love putting into characters for people as well. So like when you see that on screen, if you have a dialect that doesn't move or breathe at all and you're like, I'm only speaking this way the whole movie, then it's like, what's the point?
Right.
It's like, where's the humanity in that? But if you have different circumstances where the character is speaking the same dialect but a different feel of it or a different energy with it, I think that's so reflective of what we do as humans.
Yeah.
So we do shift
It's
a lot.
also like finding the colors like understanding the dialect enough where you're not thinking about it anymore. And you can find you're like, all right, well now does this person speak slow? Does this person speak fast?
And with whom?
With whom, right? Like, does this person have different dialects in this movie?
Yeah.
Right? Like sometimes.
And what's believable on screen.
Right.
So sometimes in real life, people have very different dialects, depending on their tiredness, depending on the company they're in, depending on how they're feeling. And then if you do that on screen, it just seems inconsistent.
Right.
So you have to take that into consideration.
Right.
Are there any movies that you've seen that you really loved the accents?
I just saw Killers of the Flower Moon, and I guess because I was in Oklahoma.
For Twister, yeah.
Right, yeah, for Twister, yeah. I love the work that they did in that.
Yeah, totally. I watched it. I watched it recently also, and the dialect coach was Tim Monick. Shout out Tim again.
Tim
but
Monick.
he's like 75, 80, and he's the OG dialect coach, right? He does everything. He does everything. And so I sent him an email, and I was like, Tim, I knew from the first scene that they were in Osage County, Oklahoma, because he nailed the dialect. And it turns out he went there beforehand and like interviewed the townspeople and like found voice models for the actors.
That's wow.
And he interviewed the
Well,
Osage people.
You found voice models for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. But he said for that one specifically, what I loved about it is that the Osage people didn't speak with a Native American dialect, which oftentimes in movies they will. Because Tim went there and he said that the people of the community said that everyone was mixed together, so they all spoke with that same Oklahoma dialect, which I thought was super cool because it really made you feel through the sound that they were all one community. And so then that betrayal at the end was even more intense.
And being in Oklahoma too, though, like you would see everyone was mixed, but everybody's kind of had, at least in OKC, or when we went out to places like Enid or Pawhuska, where everybody had, the people in that community for the most part had the same dialect. You know, every now and then you find somebody with a different dialect, but for the most part, wherever you was at, everybody kind of their dialects matched.
I went to school in OKC,
That's wild. Where'd you go to school?
Oklahoma City University.
Oh yeah.
Shout out the Stars. The
What's
motto,
the Stars?
The motto is "Gay by May," and the I don't do sports. The mascot.
Yeah.
The mascot is the Stars. You could do a star with your hand.
Wow.
Shout out Stars. The Stars. It's all artists, and so it's all
So
really.
was it like acting school or some shit?
It's a private university. It has other branches, but it's a big acting school, musical theater, ballet.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of Broadway people come from there.
Okay. Yeah. My school was like a lot of ballet and tap and jazz and shit like that. Yeah.
Ballet, tap, and jazz.
All of that.
Is that how you got into Broadway stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I went to school for musical theater for 2 years, and then I graduated and I started auditioning. You know, I was going on a lot of open auditions, open calls. Like that was kind of the
Really?
thing. Yeah. I didn't have I had an agent, and then they dropped me after 6 months.
Hold up. How did you get into Hamilton after just doing open calls? What?
Like that, I open call, went on an open call.
You got on Hamilton from an open call?
Yep. Yeah, open audition. I just walked up into the casting office. They were auditioning for some other musical that I wasn't right for, but I was like, yo, I haven't, nobody's seen me. I had just come off the ship, so I was like, yo, I gotta get my face out there, you know what I'm saying? Like,
wow.
No one's seen me and shit, so I just
have a
pulled
lot
up.
of friends who are on cruise ships, and they have trouble getting work afterwards because no one knows them.
But people stay. That's the problem. Like I think like people stay on the ship, and I'm like, yo, you can't make a career on land thinking that you're gonna come off the you're gonna come off the ship for 2 months,
right?
And you like, yo, I'm gonna audition, but then I'm gonna go take this other cruise ship contract because nothing happened. You gotta thug it out. You gotta stay. You gotta stay, even if you don't work for a month or 2 or whatever it is, or even if you 6 months, you gotta get a survival job and on land and you know, you got to keep auditioning. You can't just bounce for another 7.5 to 9 months. Like, yo, them contracts are long.
They are. Yeah.
Like you there. Like,
Yeah.
you
No
on this boat.
escaping. Oh my God.
Yo, like I didn't see land at night for 7.5 months. Like it was so weird. The first night I had on land.
All right, beautiful. Anthony Ramos,
Yo.
thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, bring it in.
Come on.
Come on.
Now we going to the club.
Going to the club. Bye. Thank you for tuning into Unmuted. If you haven't already, please like, follow, and subscribe.